And the topic of discussion, we are still on the SDG goals in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals. However, we need to understand the landscape of couple of stuff which I want to cover today, and perhaps the authorities can look into it and see how this can be worked out. So I'll wait for a couple of minutes. I wish to discuss few of the patent applications so that folks can work around it, code their stuff, and yeah, we can take it from there. So I'm muting myself for now. I'll just fetch the data. Okay, so I have fetched um, So I wanted to touch base on the understanding of how these applications. So one is definitely iOS, second is the Android, and third, which is still not available for the public at large, is the Impula network. So a new generative hardware is being developed right now, and I'm the inventor for the same. However, it's not something I'm going to license, but we are in talks with different enterprises globally, and I personally want to see in terms of the first, um, not 100, because we have to do it in bulk so that the best of the folks can understand the importance of the Impula network. And on that Impula network, it's like, as I said, it's not iOS, it is not Android, it is Impula. So this stuff, um, which is still under the, I would rather say, under quality check in terms of the hardware and the software component, and the integrated development environment for the same right now is very robust. Is only when it's not that we are going to launch it for anyone and everyone. Perhaps when things are in order. Obviously, this is being manufactured in China, and we need to see where we do the assembly, whether it would be made in India or not. But perhaps uh, it's in a state right now where we are in 2025. Honestly, I don't want to launch it before. Probably I want to launch it somewhere in 2027. And right now, we are utilizing the iOS, or we are using the Android to just test these scenarios, embodiments. In the patenting language, we call it embodiments. And perhaps right now, what is important, obviously, I already talked about this gig economy, not today, I'm talking way back. I'm not very sure which year was it, or perhaps it was before lockdown, after lockdown. I'm not very sure, but we emphasized on gig economy, and right now we are living in gig economy. Having said that, what is going to happen right now when we talk about the hardware and the software kind of understanding, and particularly when we're talking about AI, where a lot of discussion is happening whether it's decentralized or what kind of input data is being taken for the training purposes of the LLMs or the small language models. Honestly speaking, Per se LLM has no value because this garbage input data, I mean, it will take more time for the fortification rather than working on these models, and that input data has no value. And the data which has no value, there's no point deploying data scientists and trying to work out something from this. I'll give you an example. Let's just take the data set of these wherever you're giving your numbers, your email IDs, and whatever is associated with you. However, that data set has no value in terms of, say, for example, somebody is participating in a program, and there are perhaps maybe 150 participants for that particular program, and this is where AR/VR stuff can actually happen. And I happened to work on something which was based on Harvard study way back, maybe in the year 2015, 2016. It's more than a decade now, and that too, that patent application was almost expired. So why there is so much emphasis, and why there is so much of ongoing stuff in terms of where US is trying to just hold on to each and every stuff, because those patents are expired. So once the patent is expired, there's some kind of technical know-how associated with that patent application which was in a granted state. And now what is happening is, somehow there's RIP for Google engine, and the new models are coming into place. So businesses cannot be run, we like it or not, uh, even this the hardware and the software component, it is more to have an understanding the best of whatever is available at any given point of time. What I mean to say here is, there was a time where new devices were being launched, people had the capacity to purchase, which has gone turmoil right now because of the current landscape of the world, whether it's the cyber threat, whether it's the bio warfare, whether it's the intervention of the machines into humans. There is a school of thought about matrix and stuff. However, if only few folks are out of that, and those kind of individuals are called Jedi. I don't know how many people even understand what Jedi is all about. Maybe if you watch the movie Jedi, you will get some kind of cognizance, but that is just a scratching the surface kind of a situation. But what is important right now is to understand that both these devices, the iOS, which is you know uh, you have the Safaris and whatnot, and Android, which is very much based on open source model. The one which I have invented is Impala, and it's working wonderfully well. And we are utilizing the current platforms just to get those use case studies, and those use case studies have been developed. It is being developed as I'm talking about it globally. It's not that everything, it is to be deployed anywhere and everywhere, and be seen as a protocol whereby inputs data should be that good that it takes care of the output. That is how it should be done. However, in not all embodiments it would be possible, but it is very much feasible. That being said, okay, I have something with me. This is a US patent application. Let's just deep dive into it. Perhaps I'm just writing a paper on the input data part. So after this, I'll be completing that and submitting it for the submission to be published, so that folks can understand a little bit more. And this is basically filed by Pegasystem Inc. It's invented for non-programmatically constructing software solutions. So give me a moment. I'll just. So this is okay. This was filed in the year 2019, and 21 it was published. It was active. It states, if you look into the file wrapper, maybe you'll be able to fetch the data, the expiry date for the same, because if you don't pay so-called annuity fees, I mean, then according to the laws, the patent, it's a kind of a capitalistic world where you pay the fee structure so that the I mean, everything is in order that way. I don't want to get into the legalities. I just want to concentrate on this particular use case study of the invention of whatever the problem statement they are trying to solve. And honestly speaking, forget about 5 years from now. I mean, the life of Homo sapiens sapiens in 2030 is going to be, see, it's going to be a lifestyle of 2080. So 2030 becomes 2080. What I mean to say is, if I just take the current data set trend states that nature is at 2050. So if the nature or the landscape, which is a bigger landscape in terms of what has been achieved, is in 2050, and we still are in 2025, the AI calculations or whatever calculations we have done, 2030 on the timeline would be a lifestyle which folks were thinking for 2080 or 2090. So that's how much leap the whole sector is going to take. And in this process, forget about hardware and software. There are going to be a lot of dismantling in terms of real land. I'll give you an example. I was in Guang, and Guang is a province which, according to the historical data set, was part of Europe. And Europe is per se is quite big land chunk. I haven't shared that data set in the public domain, but according to the historical data set, it states that because of the shift in the core of the earth, the land just got washed away in terms of with the water and stuff, and it became part of China. And Guang province is very close to Hong Kong per se. So the point here is, we are going to see, or the world is going to witness right now, and as I speak, we are already seeing that. It's not that it's not happening. There is a lot of volcanoes, eruption stuff, and somehow that will also lead to formation of new landforms globally across the world, at least on this planet. Elon is talking about Mars. That is something else that can be discussed at a later stage. But 2030 lifestyle is going to be something which you ever had imagined. Maybe in 2080, 2019, you might be seeing few folks having the power to fly. Now the question is, can they overcome the understanding of gravity? Because if you're overcoming gravity by whatever equation or with your own I would rather say the way the human body or whatever this body is made up of, because I have been practicing this for quite a while. I did try to get to the next purposeful stuff, which I was able to overcome many a times. It's just that it is basically the training of the mind. If you're able to train the mind, I mean, it's just that you have to overcome the understanding of this gravitational pull. If you are in a nature and the atmosphere and everything where, and the sages globally have attained that. It's nothing that we are talking out of blue right now. So 2030, you will see a lot of people who are evolved, and they would be able to for some it is magic, but yes, it is very much doable in terms of lifting oneself against the gravity. So that is not something you learn in school, but it is something you, as whatever you are in terms of whatever your spiritual understanding is, you can definitely do that. It's not a science anymore. So this particular application number is US 10963317. So the landscape which it is covering right now, engineering and computer science, I want to get into that. So particularly the classification is G06F9/541, G0 6F8/34. So basically, 34 is graphical and visual programming. 541 is interprogram communication via adapters between incompatible applications. So, I mean, the languages which are being developed right now, or what are there, whatever is there in the landscape, that is going to change. I mean, everybody has their own way of coding. Even you can use just, numbers, and each number can mean anything and everything in the coding world. So there's no particular language which has to be deployed will work in future. It is just that the number jumbo game of the ethos of what you are developing and how you're solving the problem. So they are building solutions integrating disparate software systems without programming. Okay, let's look into this. And how are they achieving it? We'll just look into this. Okay, so basically what has happened right now to make the process simple, there are supposed to be multiple languages, right? But there are so many languages which till date folks don't understand. Now the point of context here is to understand this stuff, which is the IDE part. And the way it works is, you have to consider, in this particular application, you have to consider it as the biggest canvas. I particularly like to call it whatever, it's whiteboard or anything, chalkboard, when you were in school, when tech was not deployed. So there was very simple understanding of whatever, anything and everything. Now everything has modules and submodules. To make the process simple and cheaper and faster, there's deployment of modules and submodules. You can just drag and drop, and you can orchestrate your own workflows. So that is going to work. And how those workflow is like, you have this determination step, we already discussed about it. There's nothing out of this context in terms of, yes, no, or it's a continuous loop. We also pointed out one point very clearly. So I'll come back to this application before I come back here, that at any given point of time, Homo sapiens sapien can be positive, negative, neutral, and kind of a pendulum like kind of stuff where the mind is just being weathered around so many things, because environmental factors play a very pivotal role. It's not that the childhood environment, I'm talking about the real environment also, because in a real environment, unless you have everything with clarity, it's never going to work. I'll give you an Impala use case study which we are conducting on a regular basis, and different actors, when I say different actors, anyone who understands what we are doing is an actor. And now, honestly speaking, everybody is an actor. A doctor is an actor of enactment of a doctor, lawyer is an actor doing the doc stuff, judge isn't someone who understands the whatever. I don't want to get into that, but the point of contention here is, this is something I had researched, I worked upon perhaps in 2015 or 2016. It was a Harvard based stuff, and the point of contention was, if in a given place which is offline, so say for example, if I have to take one example, I'll take Starbucks. There is an arrangement of the chairs which is changed on a regular basis depending on the kind of people, how many people are sitting, blah 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 blah. Now, we like it or not, to orchestrate the input data, until unless everybody in the room are on the same page, that orchestration is not possible. It's that simple on the level playing field. whatever whatever may happen, but until unless each and everything, including the the offline stuff which is supposed to be non-living, whether it's a cup, whether it's a glass, whether it's Jimmy Choo, for that matter, it's not going to work until unless everybody is on the same page to achieve anything and everything. And that is one reason the ethos of the company has to be very strong to um, get things done in a fast speedy manner in terms of even shipping products. If everything is in order in terms of the alignment, like, okay, where the procurement is happening from, who is going to take from point A to point B. Another one research work which I did, I think somewhere in the lockdown, it was around how things should be traveling from one place to the other, whether it's any kind of offline stuff. I was of the opinion that we should have some canopies everywhere, and we should have, even if we have these ride hailing services, which is a big business model altogether. In very simple words, we need to, so the person should be conversant with the mapping. That means the minimum time which it takes from point A to point B. So if one person is doing the same work for next 90 days, and just maybe in a diameter of or 5 kilometers, like if we just cover 5 kilometers, that person becomes skillful enough to do that kind of work. That being said, say for example, somebody purchases something, like I like, whenever I like to purchase something from Rangers that's based out in Connaught Place. Connaught Place is the central part of Delhi. So if I have to order something, I order there. The process right now is the person picks up the order. There's a fee structure because it's almost, I think, 13 kilometers from my place, 13 to 14 kilometers, not much. So the fee structure for the traveling time is calculated that way. But due to the traffic and all, the tenure taken to cover that many kilometers is much more. So to solve this issue, I was of the opinion, and I'm still of the opinion, that if we are deploying so many people, we should have canopies where they should be fed water, and it's like, it's kind of a stationary station where they can rest, and person A gives, it's kind of so somebody who understands sports would be able to appreciate, it's kind of a I'm not trying to retrieve the name. It's like four people used to play that 100 meter, 400 meters, like take the baton from one to the next place. So the point of contention here is very simple. The person travels from point A to point B, gives the food, the delivery is done, tuck tuck tuck, and then that point B person takes it to the next person, covers that much distance, tuck tuck tuck. So whatever money, say for example, in fiat currency is 250, example, just a very random example. So if there are 5 people who will be executing the whole process, so 5 people are executing it, rather than nobody is fatigued at the same point of time. It adheres to the ILO regulations also, which is International Labour Organization. We need to upgrade everyone in terms of the real upgradation, not from the point of view of making mockery of the whole system. And at the same point of time, that money is divided among the 5 riders. In the whole course chain, what happens is nobody is fatigued, nobody is angry from the emotional point of view, because there have been situations where there has been rampant two-way communication between the people, because obviously the weather conditions have changed, and when somebody is traveling from X to Y, and if you're not asking for water and whatnot, people are offended. In many cases, if people offer water, it's maybe the other way around also. You never know who is being onboarded, for that matter. So training of the human capacity building is very important. I mean, first of all, human capacity building for the founder themselves. Most of the founders in India, they are just in the air. I mean, the unicorns you see in, I mean, the best of the unicorns. They have lost it in terms of the money. They have lost it in terms of the execution. They have lost it in anything and everything. It's very good to come on stage and speak on mic and state the facts and make fun of anything and everything. They feel it's easy to be an entrepreneur. The answer is big no. So I'll just end this stuff because this pattern needs my attention and probably put it into the data set as an article format for the folks to understand, and you can take your decisions accordingly. In this particular layer, basically there has an adapter layer, which is a plumber. So for every technology platform you want to talk to, the vendor ships an adapter. How it works is we have Salesforce REST adapter, GraphQL adapter, and so many things. Right now, I'm also doing a lot of market research for different companies where they are asking for, hey, Prity, how much you are willing to pay for this kind of service on a monthly basis? So there's a lot of bundling happening right now in terms of anything and everything, because forget about the days where you need to have 1,000+ people uh, under the umbrella of running a business. You can very well run a business with just few folks. I would rather say the way I'm seeing right now, in best of the capacity. I mean, if I'm not saying that you need to have this much amount of turnover and everything, because market cap and everything, because for the impeller network it's a very different thing. It's something nobody has seen in the world right now, and most of the folks know about it. That's a good thing. I mean, what we have developed as a team is one of the best inventions which mankind is seeing in 2025 right now. At the same point of time, the market cap of this, I don't want to get into it, because then people will be, oh, why this market cap is so large. But if I just have to talk about it, anywhere with the usage of tech and the deployment of tech, we are seeing right now anywhere between 25 to 200 full-time professionals are more than enough to execute the best of the businesses with the usage of tools and associations and pooling of technology. And the technological landscape has to be shared, whereby the documentation has to be, I think I talked about it in the morning, the vesting clause, rather than 3 years, it has to come to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it's not imagination, it's basically a very clear understanding of the levels. And I think that's one of the best or feasible way to just be a better version in terms of whatever you do, and use AI at the max to get things done in a fast, speedy manner, and concentrate on the small data models, because that's not hallucinated. We cannot go with the synthetic data also. We need real human data in terms of their real intent, and we have to ask one question in different formats. I think I can ask one question maybe 500 ways just to get the right data set. That is what that training is all about. I was talking about the other day. So thank you for watching out the video. I think it's only 30 minutes now. I'll put these in the article format, metadata and icons. Just to sum it up, I still love the tile format of Nokia. I mean, today also, if you ask me the layout, I like the one which I resonate with. I like the tile format. I think it's very clean, it's very neat. We should make things simple and classic rather than complicating it with loads of icons and loads of stuff. And that is why the app model is totally broken, and we talked about it. I think I personally talked about it in 2017 last, and we are in 2025. Somehow I feel I'm already in 2026. That's another debate altogether. But thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day.